Um, I feel your pain, your anger, your frustration, whatever. But you will
It's the
notice
anger.
I'm wearing my national colors tonight, and later on I will you will see why I'm wearing these colors. Um, my topic tonight is PM's national address under microscope and hatchet. PM's national address under microscope and hatchet. And without us having discussed it, you yourself had begun that same analytical job on the Prime Minister's national address. But before you do so, I I I quite that song you played tonight by RPB, No One Asks, is talking about the press conferences in the day when there used to be real press conferences in
Mhm.
Barbados. And even I had it on my press conference on my notes, even for knowing that song was coming. But that illustrates the point I'm going to make. Because I'm saying, as a result of the lack of quality
Yes.
and consistency and relevance of the Prime Minister's so-called national address last night, I am tired of these kind of so-called addresses. I'm tired of press. If we want to go back to the real press conferences where ministers of premise sat before the press on a topic and there were questions. Now all we get is they come and brief you or tell you, and then you report, and that's it. No follow through. The press are not never given an opportunity to challenge this, the assertions, challenge their credibility, challenge their facts whatsoever. We have to they speak from on high to us, and reporters now are none but minions and report. They really report. They are recorders rather than reporting. They record and reproduce. And I think in my day when I was a practicing journalist, I one of these days will tell you some clashes I had with Premier Barrow and how I boycotted him for about a month because of his misbehavior towards me and the outfit. But I won't take it that time now. The point is that we were people of guts and courage and pride in our profession, understanding and practices of and the ethics of our profession. Now, this government, the Prime Minister, has been promising what freedom of information
Hmm.
since before 2018, and not it's topic that has not come up. So I'm saying let's dispense with that. Let's get back to the basics. If the so-called journalists in Barbados, I'm sorry I would have to be so harsh on, because so there are mere record reproducers. They do nothing to fulfill the principles and practice of the profession. And there, in my day, we would have put, we would have said, um, we would only, until you have a press conference, we would not attend your press conference. If you want us to send it out by GS, and we would do our duty and reproduce it in GS, but we would not come and sit at your feet to be told what to say and what to reproduce on that. So in that context, so I understand how you felt about what was presented last night. And I want to say that as far as last night, I was neither disappointed nor surprised. Just simply tired of
Yes.
the PM
Yes.
coming with these
Yes.
harangues. You talk about the chastising. I think she talked down. She
Yes.
patronized, made
Yes.
Barbados
Exactly.
as though she's the repository. She in her few years, she's almost what 60 or so. She has accumulated the centuries old accumulated wisdom and practices in Barbados from the beginning until now. I know she knows best for the whole country. And I let you deprecate it and she should know better than what to do, right? Uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but okay, let's look at the visual. I'm gonna break down let me give you the categories under which I will analyze the speech. The visual aspects of her presentation, the tone of our presentation, the
Yes.
structure of our presentation, the content, and my understanding of the likely impact. 5 segments. Okay, so let's go. I didn't think that for a national address, the Prime Minister's outfit last night did not suit the occasion. She wore a blue top, as I saw, but
Mhm.
of course, there was no sign of the Barbados flag on her
Yes.
left breast.
Again, it was
None, none.
missing. It was completely gone.
And if I ever had to attend a press conference with the Prime Minister, my first questions would be, what do you have against wearing the Barbados pin on your chest? Explain why. And not only that, not only she wore a blue, which was compact with her black ultramarine and gold. But then that was covered. Her left breast, where the pin should have been, was covered by a length of cloth, which had some patterns in it that made some resemblance, some hints of the national colors of gold, ultramarine, and black. But they did not. I'm saying, if you're a prime minister, you're given national, everything about you should signify and demonstrate or represent and symbolize, in the very strongest possible terms, the symbols of Barbados that we had here. Fortunately, we had the flag in the background, but that was strong and positive. But as to the rest of it, she did not live up to it, to what was expected. And I'm still puzzled by the why would you? I would like the Prime Minister to explain to me why she's adopted this length of cloth. It's not a scarf. Or scarf, you wear a scarf on your head, your neck, your
Yes.
shoulders. This one is draped on the left side. And to me, it makes anything she wears or anybody who just look inelegant. It diminishes, it reduces, it destroys the cut of your attire, the elegance of it, whatever. And to me, it is Barbados incongruous to Barbados's cultural practice. Where that I have never seen that before by a Barbadian leader or politician until the Prime Minister adopted. Then have some of her minions, both male and female, start to copy it. Some of them, most of them seem to have dropped it. But that is represented for whatever research of a chieftain, a leader, a wise one in other cultures, but not in Barbados. So why do you therefore slavishly adopt such a practice that is not relative to our culture, that is not emanated from our culture? It's not does not represent who we are, but you are now portraying and publicizing and reinforcing somebody else's culture's practices. So that is where the visual is concerned. The tone of the speech. You hinted at the tone of the speech. I said it was patronizing. She sounded like a head teacher,
Yes.
scolded and
Yes. Scolding
berating.
the children.
Right, like a parent speaking to their children. Um, but to me, it represented what the Prime Minister normally does when she realizes her government is under pressure. She organizes a press conference or sets up a committee. I think we were glad last night she didn't set up another commission or committee, and she comes and talks on to the public. But what she needs to do, she had some very harsh criticisms of people. But I think what she has to understand that what she's doing, these people come from the court of public opinion out into society,
Correct.
and that is what she sees she needs to convey, not herself or her supporters, but the court of public opinion. Her speeches to be set that the harsh public criticism is that really the harsh public criticism of the public that supports you, in two elections, the majority, and now we're looking for a third. So the tone was very wrong, very inappropriate. It was not something uplifting. It was a state of the nation approach, how she saw the condition of the nation, but it did not represent what is happening. She missed the boat uh, uh, um, consistently. That is the tone. And when we got to the structure, it did not flow smoothly. There no one segue smooth from one segment into the next. It was a hodgepodge of things that came out as she spoke as she went along, back and forth, to the sense that even when she was trying to, what they call her climax at the end, even when she was trying to climax at the end by dealing with something positive, having spent the night criticizing those who have quite justifiably drawn her attention to the inadequacy, the undemocratic nature, the insensitive nature, the offensive nature of some of the legislation. Even when she did that, when she rather than just end on a climax, a positive note of all the merriment and the good times that you're supposed to have from Kerry Fester, she then went back and destroyed the peroration, destroyed the oratory of the occasion by talking about hurricanes and the danger that prevail for it. That dragged the speech when you want to end on a positive note, an uplifting note to send the country forth to enjoy and participate and support Carrie Festival, which is supposed just a glorious. And let me, I want to find time to talk about that too. About the event, that climax, that important part of the speech was destroyed. Then come that after having hyped Carrie Festa and its value and importance of what it means to the region of Barbados, she then she finished on a less upbeat note. The content she sought to, well, of course, it was full of her usual cliches and
Yep.
buzzwords.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
fortunately, she did not repeat uh, one blow the scale or cow or too many hands. Many hands make right work. You were spared of that, but still, it was nothing that showed any sincerity, any attempt to really deal with the issues in the public. Uh, it was it was it was it was to me. She typed rather than trying to explain the issues like in the with the legislation, and the public's quite justifiable in abhorrence and repulsion at what was attempted this time legally under the guise of wiretapping. She sought rather than explain it. Tell us how you arrived at it. Tell us the context. She tried to explain it away, make excuses for shift the explanation away from her and her government to other people and other issues, and it fell down very very badly. Um, so it did not help. It did not in any way help the public to understand how 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 appreciate what led the government step by step to this very outstanding negative step that no other government in Barbados has sought to do before. Of course, I think generally speaking, the public were supportive and are supportive of most of the legislation, most of the five bills, and most of the parts of the five bill, except this one that David, the unaccountable, unsupervised provisions that dealt with is what 52C, or I forget that dealt with the question of not control, not supervise, not authorize
Fight
activities
to be.
right
Fight to be.
right that one. And what the prime minister does not seem to grasp is that she did not her everything about her speech showed that she did not understand or ignore the spirit of the times, the spirit of the country. Contrary to what she would like us to believe, she wants to think that people like on this show and other fora have been critical of her, a minority. But believe me, the people I talk, the people who call me, right across Barbados, they were incensed, they were let down, they were shocked, they were horrified as to this step of what was being explained, what was being attempted in this legislation. And what she doesn't seem to understand is that dissatisfaction, that suspicion, that mistrust, that distrust all came out of a past historical experience when, as her government admitted, as she and her government admitted to our ministers about the previous wiretapping, it happened. And when you have some of the principals show activity, from all reports and documented, to the principal persons involved in that earlier illegal, we call it, unaccounted for wiretapping. The public are justifiably suspicious, mistrustful, and cynical when those are now at the helm, at the upper echelons of this process. They must not feel settled and comfortable about it. And what is the prime minister has had a reputation of being bright, but they also know in Barbados, you're familiar with the term, you're bright, but you ain't shining. She's not shining out there.
Yes.
When you put all of that in the context, you then should have appreciated why persons would be very, very careful and wary of what was being attempted in parts of this legislation. And take tactical. She did not. The prime while her ministers sought to justify the thrust of this bill by saying it happened before, or now we're going to regularize it, and et cetera, et cetera. The prime minister, if she was sensitive to the mood of the country, and I believe the prime minister is either surrounded by a bunch of yes people, or they live in a bubble in which they don't communicate with the rest of society, or they believe that they're so right they ignore everything else. The prime minister will use the occasion to apologize to the country, like you said, to say, okay, it happened before, we are sorry, whatever part any of us had. She did not even have to seek to pinpoint any particular individual, some of whom I'm sure she knows very well. But all she had to say, as a matter of fact, we apologize to the country. We made a misstep, and I give you the assurance that with the built-in safeguards in this legislation, it will under us never happen again. It will not even be attempted again. That would help to somewhat minimize and assuage the public's mind, and anger and frustration, even as to why this thing is being attempted in this form. And I think that would have helped to soften the blow and made it more amenable and made it more acceptable and trustworthy of the public. None of that was done. Instead, people were blaming persons who had legitimate criticisms or blamed for it. I also felt that the prime minister lost a golden opportunity to show her the sincerity of her action when she did not seize the opportunity to commend. She made mention of the report of the Democratic Party's Commission on Crime, which has been very well received. And I believe I believe the impact and the high acceptance that the report has gotten on the party that forced the prime minister's hand and the government's hand into compiling all this hastily contrived legislation in a hurry because they want to be sure, they don't want to be seen. That's
Lost the
my understanding.
communication there for a little bit,
That
Glyne.
hmm?
We lost the
Hello.
communication there for a little bit. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Where did not where she didn't want to seem to be coming playing catch up with the DLP as such. And therefore, these things were rushed to show that they too are in the mix, are in the game, because they have had a reputation and that people have seen them and accused them of not being as strong and forceful and keen of crime fighting as they should have been. So, Mr. Thorne is the one who brought out the anomaly, the frightening part in the legislation about the political nature of the appointment of the so-called supervisory authority of the wiretapping. And he showed the inherent political dangers that would have been at bay, at practice, if it had been left in that form. And he called for an amendment. And the Prime Minister announced the agreement with the amendment when she spoke at the floor house. But so there was some merit. Obviously, there was some merit in the work done by Mr. Thorne. There was also merit done in the work done by Mr. Corey Greenwich, who obviously made a tremendous impact on the public with his presentations on radio, on the Marcia show, and elsewhere on the DLP TV about the intricacies and details of the thing. And I think, and he's not going to be a candidate. And we have to wait and see how much that will take him forward as a candidate in Christchurch South in the elections. And it reminded me, I don't know if it reminded me too of an encounter early in his career that the late David Thompson had on a television program. I think it was called Understanding on Television, when he established himself as a credible debater against much more senior adversaries, debater adversaries, and that helped to propel himself in the public mind as a person to watch and a person of the future. He did vindicate that perception, and he rose to talk to become prime minister. There was also an instance where I think it was during the 1990 election, where Richard Seeley, who became a minister in the DLP government as a youngster, when the DLP government got in 2000, in the 1990 election, he had an encounter in those days, you had political debates between representatives of the party as part of the campaign, foreign affairs, on the economy, the prime minister, the leaders, etc. And he had a debate against Miss Billy Miller, who was a much more seasoned campaigner and politician. And he did very well, and that helped to propel him into his future success in America South Central, and he's becoming a minister. So I'm saying that this is good work done by Mr. Greenwich, and we wait to see how he converts that into gains and advances at the poll or not. But I also want to say that I support Mr. Thorne's refusal on all those in the DLP to participate in this so-called Citizen Advisory Committee on Citizen Security, which has had a very tacky reputation, given the sudden resignation and surprising resignation of Professor Velma University, an eminent Barbadian, as chairperson. You notice the Prime Minister never makes reference to that resignation.
That's correct. That's correct.
That casts a pall. To me, that casts a pall and a dark cloud over the work of that commission and the Prime Minister of that committee. And the Prime Minister never has thanked her for her work. Nothing for it. But I feel that, given the refusal of the Prime Minister to be flexible in making it possible for the DLV to enjoy part of the public purse as a subvention to the political party, and it's not in the Constitution. It's a policy of the Marriage Commission of Parliament. It's a political policy worked out among the persons who are represented. So that can be varied. But the point is, if the DLP and its persons and its work are not good enough to justify this subvention, when you recall that there are scores of other institutions in Barbados that have done less for the development of Barbados than the DLP, who benefit from a subvention. So if the DLP is not good enough to benefit from something, therefore its work, its personnel, its limited research are not good enough, I feel, to join another committee by the government. Let the government says that they were elected to govern, let them govern. Let them govern like they seek to do it. That was the tone of part of her speech, so that, you at some point you consult, you do, but then you have to make a decision. You go on, you made a decision, go on. And I don't think the government, I don't think the LP should be anywhere feel reluctant or penalized by not. But I think they're doing they're justifying, they're standing their ground and let it be known, the Prime Minister know that they're not there to be used at the convenience of the government when they think they need their help. Because they've done nothing so far to justify it. So I therefore think that the impact of the speech was not what was expected.
Right.
I think it had a limited impact. And you watch my time because you owe me 4 minutes.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, good. All right.
I took 4 minutes. I took 4 minutes from you.
Cool
I can admit my mistakes.
All right, cool. Oh no, you should be proud. You got my vote for Prime Minister today. Yeah. The thing is that I think there were a couple of factors why I think the things that the tone, the content, the structure, etc., her visual image, all of what contributed to minimize the impact of the speech, of the address, right, to the nation. But I think a cardinal error was made by the Nation newspaper in agreeing to carry a detailed, extensive, comprehensive summary of the speech in the Sunday Sun, when hours before the Prime Minister was going to record it, put it on TV tonight. So what happened was that, of course, I could understand the government. The Sunday Sun is the biggest selling newspaper of the week, and you will want your speech to get the maximum exposure. But what he has done is that, having read it in such detailed fashion on the back page of Sunday Sun, people, I for one, I only watched it because I want to see the full thing for myself, so live as presented. I was less interested and keen on watching because in my day, I think when you're growing up, when you had cab oil, Some of them was a wet, you call it some of them fibs.
Hmm.
When they did like, so it was a wet, what the British would call a wet squib. Some that did not live up to expectations and promise. So the Prime Minister's impact was fell severely short of what it should be for such for such an event, and therefore it should did not get the maximum impact that it should have. Um, but again, I say the Prime Minister did not again take into account the 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 public mood, did not capture the public. And the approach and content and her speech were not geared toward reflecting that mood. Seek to answer the questions, seeks to explain, seeks to open the eyes, seeks to set at rest any concerns, justifiable or otherwise, of the public, but not just to say, well, we are government, we did something, we're going to do it, and we're going to move on.
But not only that, Glyne, there is this continuous, and I take umbrage, is that the word? Uh, to the continuous expression that she used throughout her speech to do with matters that have been expressed by others as rumors and conspiracy theories. And I'm looking at this transcript of the speech. I have the transcript of the speech. I didn't get it from the nation. I got it from YouTube, because YouTube gives you a transcript talking about people quoting from the Bible, liberally without forgetting to remember the Bible tells us not to engage in falsehoods. These are the disingenuous expressions that she has made, because the mere fact, in my view, Glyne, that she had to hold this type of a press conference tells me that what we are saying was correct. If it wasn't correct, why waste time? You don't have
But
to waste time.
the insincerity, what I also like, I like the word term deprecate. I abhor, I repudiate this tendency to call people who voice objections or criticism to her government's activities, the Prime Minister government activity,
Conspiracies.
as noise, dismiss it as
Yes,
noise,
noise. That's the
noise.
expression. It's
So this
noise.
is not worth anything. Everything is noise. So just ignore it, shut it out. Not really. By that attitude, it is robbing her and depriving her of her party of understanding, of capturing the depth of the public feeling and their perception, negative or positive, about the government's policies and program, and they're missing out on stuff. And this idea that you have the right to categorize and label everybody else's activities and things as noise, I think is unbecoming of the Prime Minister, and she should do better in the future. Um,
And and not only
Go
that,
ahead.
Glenn, when you consider the fact that it takes the kind of noise, if you want to, if she wants to call it that, that has been propagated by the people of the country to get explanations to things that should not be. We are now getting explanations as to what you are doing, a breakdown as to what is going on. This is what the people ask for up front.
That's right.
And this is the same kind of mentality that comes before us with this interception bill, where you're talking about a warrant being executed after you have investigated a matter in order to get a warrant. It's the same kind of thinking. And this is where she doesn't seem to grasp it and understand. And that happens when people feel that they are beyond being criticized and they are the McGuffey and you can't tell me what to do. Listen, that is a plantocratic mentality that we will not tolerate in Barbados anymore. That was our old colonial mindset. That is the
No.
master slave coming out of the white man's house, plantation house, talking to his fellow black people. Pardon me.
I do not say, I say, I just say, I have not even put in all those terms. All I'm saying is arrogance, the arrogance of power,
Yes.
the breeding of autocracy or autocrats, where you have little time and concern for the public's rights to expression, and where everything is a bother and a nuisance that you could do without of. So that's how I say. I think it is an evidence to of you've heard me talk about the 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 um the arrogance of power, the majority, or where a majority where a government uses majority, the tyranny of the majority, the tyranny of the majority is a well-known political concept where you use everything you're possible to grind others out. You become very autocratic and insensitive and undemocratic in your behavior and thinking and practice and attitude, and that does the country great harm. And I think we therefore have to be on our feet. All of these things are, look at the cybercrime bill. The way this one has been handled is all side of that autocratic behavior. Any autocratic behavior or practice are enemies of democracy. It
Yes,
undermines your
yes.
democracy, and that is what we might seek to